Hi, everybody. Bob Olson here with Afterlife TV. This is where we talk about life after death, the questions that are very meaningful for that subject that so many people have. Today's question is going to be about grief and belief, how understanding life after death can comfort our grief, and we're also going to talk about how it doesn't. Our guest is an old friend of mine, old in a couple different ways, but always going to be a little older than me. We've known each other for 13 years. He's been an integral part of my spiritual growth and investigation of the afterlife. His name is John Holland. Welcome, John. We're so happy to have you here today.
Hi, Bob. Of course I'm here. Thank you for having me. And congratulations, too, on this site. What a great idea. And you're reaching so many people and helping them in many ways with Afterlife TV.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And we had so much fun. Geez, after all this time, I was on your show last month or something like that. We had such a great time, and I thought, This is perfect. We'll just reverse the roles here, and I'll start asking you the questions.
Sure.
I want everybody to know John is the author of actually 5 books. One I don't have here, but his first book is Born Knowing. Excellent book. Really, the first book, the first story about your beginnings, where it all started. Another book here, Psychic Navigator. If you want to learn how to be psychic, get control of your psychic abilities. Then Power of the Soul.
Wow.
I love that one. Isn't that great? This is a hardcover. Still have that one. And then the last one, the most recent one, Spirit Whisperer, which is so great, and it reminds me of a lot of things that I've written myself because you had a lot of different experiences.
Absolutely.
Very personal book again. Kind of like this one where you shared so much about your life and your experiences with like past life regression and other things. So today we're going to talk about grief and belief. And, you know, the work that you do, you're a medium. You know, you've been doing this. How long you been doing this, John?
Oh, God. I'm losing track. I just say over 2 decades now.
Yeah,
so
yeah, okay. All right.
Over 20 years.
Yeah, you kind of want to stop counting after a while.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But anyways, and I used to watch you when 25 people were showing up. You did an event every Monday at a place outside of Boston.
Oh, Unicorn Bookstore in Arlington, yes.
Yeah, and now you got hundreds of thousands, you know, whatever it may be. Things have really changed. Your audience has grown, and you help so many people doing what you do. I highly recommend anybody who's watching to go to one of John's events. What I call, or what is known in the field, as a medium demonstration, and this is where John gets on stage. Usually you educate the people,
sure,
which is awesome. You educate them about what you do and how it works, and then you go on and start giving readings, random readings to people in the audience.
Right.
Yeah, it's very cool to watch. It's a wonderful experience and a great way to learn about the afterlife. So, and I know people can go to your website to learn where you're going to be doing one of those events next, which is johnholland.com. So let's jump right in. Here's the thing. One of the things that I'm excited about having you here, John, is because, you know, so many people that visit Afterlife TV are grieving the loss of a loved one. And a lot of people think...
Or just about to grieve, too, Bob, too.
Well, you know, that's right. You know, I remember one time I started to wonder if the work that I was doing had any effect. This was probably a decade ago. And then all of a sudden, people who had known me and had heard about my stories, like people that were close to me,
sure,
started losing people. They started losing people in their life. They had not had a significant loss yet. And all of a sudden, they started calling me and emailing me and saying, thank you so much, because what I learned from the journey that you're going through in these investigations of the afterlife has helped me with my current loss.
Sure.
And that's what this is all about. That's what this subject is all about. But the interesting thing that you bring to this, because you've had a recent loss that we're going to talk about, is a lot of people wonder, you know, do mediums grieve? You know, because you can communicate with our loved ones in spirit. So we're going to talk about that. But why don't you tell us about your most recent loss? You know, someone who I also care very much about, Jenny. Tell us about that.
Back in May 5th, she was sick, Bob, in June, I remember the day too, June 28th of 2010. She had stage 4 emphysema and COPD, and she was in and out of the hospital, and she, I was usually the caretaker of the family and of her. So that's when she got sick. And then one thing led to another, from hospitals to ICU to moving her out of her house to assisted living, which she couldn't do. That lasted 3 months, to going back into the hospital to have, and then one of her lungs collapsed, and then she went to a nursing home, although they call them long-term care facilities. It was a great place. So May 15th is when she slipped away, from here. So it was it's coming up on 9 months. And you asked me, which I think it's beautiful that we're doing this interview, because a lot of people say, well, he's a medium. So they think that I have less grief than somebody else. I do link with the other side, but it's harder for me, Bob, because she's my mother. Do you know what I mean? When I'm ready, I'll go to another medium, you know? So, but of course, I'm bereaved and I have my moments, and, and I miss her, but I know she's okay. And, what's good, Bob, too, and for anyone who's listening, when she was sick, I found out everything about her illness, so there was less anxiety. When the doctor said something, I knew exactly what they were talking about. And I had a year with her, Bob. She lasted a year, and she had a lot of good days. And where she was up. She was bringing Tai Chi to the long-term care facility. She brought it in there. So I think what happened was she was doing so well, some of my family forgot that she was in end-of-life stages.
Yeah.
But so she had a lot of good days. And what made it good for me is I have no regrets. I had a year with her. So we talked about the afterlife. We talked about how she would go, what she wanted. So I have no regrets, but doesn't mean I don't miss her. And I'll have my grief attacks. And a grief attack is you're walking in a store, you see something she loves, and you just break down.
Yeah.
So do I grieve? Absolutely.
Yeah. And the grieving starts like long before the person actually goes. I mean, in your particular case, and in so many other people's situations, they're, in this case, we'll just say that they're elderly, that they're becoming sicker, and you can see it coming. In your particular case, there were many moments where even the doctors thought that she was
five times.
Yeah. I mean, that gets to you, but so it really, and it causes you to start that grieving process long before they're gone, right?
Oh, absolutely. And what happened, Bob, when I knew she was going, and they had a wonderful social worker, he got all the pamphlets, and of course, doing this work, I've dealt with people that have lost people. I always get them after they go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this was very close to home. So they give you all these pamphlets and what to expect and the symptoms to watch for, and after the signs that someone's coming to get them. And we'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there was a great analogy. There's a great analogy that I read in this little booklet. It had to be about just like 5 pages to get ready. And there's an analogy where if you know someone who is sick, and imagine you're holding a penny in your hand. And you're holding it so tight, you don't want to let it go, But eventually your hand will get tired, and it'll fall out of your hand, or a wind will take the penny out, or it'll just fall off accidentally. Or it's almost when someone passes away. Imagine that you're holding on like they can't go. I accepted that she was going, so they say that like a penny. Let your hand open. Let the penny just sit there. It's comfortable, so you're enjoying the penny while it's there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. And my mom wasn't afraid before she was, but we'll get into that too, and who came to get her and the people that she saw before she passed.
Yeah. Well, and so and we definitely will. It was a great analogy, by the way, because that makes a lot of sense. And again, it's just about bringing us into the present moment and enjoying the people while they're here. And that's for anybody, even people who are not, dying, and so that we're not always projecting into the future about what might happen. Yeah, so
you got to take it a day at a time. In some cases, it's a minute at a time when somebody is ill.
And what were some of the things that you went through? Now, you talk about some of these things that they gave you. First of all, were those helpful? And aside from those things, were there any other things that you did to sort of help yourself and help her through this process?
Oh, absolutely. I made sure she went into a good place. And it's funny, when she was in assisted living for 3 months, we thought she would last there for a year, she could be independent, but that only lasted 3 months. But it gave me a chance to get a hold of her illness, to understand it. And then when she went into the long-term care facility, which was beautiful, okay? It was a beautiful home in Massachusetts, a smaller place. I got to know the staff, Bob. That's very, very important. Know who's taking care of your loved one. Get to know them. And I didn't tell them who I was right away, okay? And no one recognized me, which is fine because I'm there for my mother. And a lot of people say, well, did you, when you walked into this long-term care place, did you see elderly people popping out of the rooms that were passed away and saying, help me, call my son, the will is in the drawer? No, I was focused on my mom. But I got to know who the staff was. I got to make sure she was comfortable in her room. And I read a lot, Bob, what to expect, because it's the closest passing I've ever had. And losing my mom, it just adds to me helping other people too, though. So know the staff, know the illness, Bob, really. If someone is passing from something, know the illness. That way you're not in the dark. I knew every med she was on, every medicine, what was wrong if they said something. And also, there's plenty of support out there, Bob, too. If someone is a caretaker, know this. And some of you who are watching this right now, if you're a caretaker, what happens to you, you start to forget about yourself. Got to forget about yourself.
That's right.
And the same thing happened to me. And I read all the books, but I mean, I still had to do my mediumship and go to events. But I mean, I was physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted. So remember, you got to take care of yourself and find a support group. And the social workers at the place, they're wonderful. You don't have to go through this alone. I have 4 other brothers and sisters that I got to talk to. But the staff, knowing the illness, knowing the place, getting to know who works there, it all helps.
That's right. Great advice there for sure. You sort of triggered some things in my head, like both as a medium and as a son. Did you go through these periods where you sort of felt a sense of responsibility and even maybe control, like you needed to try to control the situation, which I can only imagine would just give you a sense of anxiety and what was that like? Did you feel any sense of responsibility for her health? In other words, you had to be an advocate and watching over everything. And if so, how do you overcome that? And even with the perspective that you understand of that life is eternal and this is a short stay that we have here, that sort of a thing. How do you deal with all these things that are going through your head?
Well, first of all, I enjoyed every day. I enjoyed being with her. And what happened was I moved her closer to me. So it was easy access. She was 20 minutes away. If she needed anything, I was there for her. But yes, I felt responsible because it's funny, Bob, when I was born, and I talk about this in The Spirit Whisperer, me and my mom have a very special relationship. I'm the different one in the family, doing the work that I do. It seems like I've been a caretaker for my mom ever since I was born, actually. You know what I mean? So that wasn't new. The responsibility, she always looked up to me. I always made sure that she had what she needed. But of course, a lot of our mothers and fathers, very stubborn people. Ma, are you eating right? This and that. But the responsibility it was overwhelming, but she did everything that I asked her to do, Bob. She was a trooper. You know what I mean? She didn't fight me really on anything. Wish I got her to eat a little better, but she was a trooper. She followed along, and she knew that I was responsible. I took the job of doing this, and it was fine. And my brothers and sisters accepted that, and they were there for me. But yeah, it was overwhelming. But Bob, you know what the thing that got me? It wasn't the responsibility. I knew that it wasn't going to be forever. Mm-hmm. And she saw me every time the hospital called and she went into the ICU and you're watching and she would apologize to me. And I said, Ma, please. I knew it wasn't going to be forever. I knew it. I'm surprised she lasted a year, Bob. So I enjoyed every single time, every day that I had with her. And one good thing about me and my mom, she had a great sense of humor.
Yeah, she did.
Great sense of humor. And it's so funny. She's such a caring woman. She's in this long-term care facility. She was more concerned about her roommate than herself. She would call the nurses. So a loving woman, but it's okay, Bob. It's, between the help that I had and the research, but like I said, I miss her like hell. Yeah.
Of course you do, and you brought up a great point there. I've seen this with so many people. There always tends to be if there's a few siblings, and there's a parent who's passing, there always seems to be one sibling who one of the children who sort of steps forth and takes control and and supports that parent. It tends to be more than the others, and I think this is just a very common thing that. I'll give you an example. when I'm worrying about something, my wife Melissa doesn't have to worry, so she doesn't worry. When she's worrying, then I don't have to worry. As long as somebody's worrying, and in this particular case, as long as somebody's taking care of mom, right, then some of the other siblings feel comfortable she's being taken care of. And what they maybe need to do, first of all, is recognize that you can share in that, okay? I just think it's important for siblings, anybody who's watching where that's happening, and they're the sibling who's sort of stepped back and they're busy with their own children and their own life, right? Maybe they can think, maybe I can help out a bit. But also, because this is a point you said, was, okay, maybe if you can't even help with that, maybe because they're across the country or something, you can be there for that sibling who's taken all that responsibility, and you can try to help that person because of the enormous amount that is on that person's shoulders. I think it was a great point you brought up.
It's true. And what's funny is that, I had my family there. If I was traveling, doing a gig or, on a book tour or whatever, I would call and make sure that one of my other siblings would visit her. And what's really great, though, Bob? What I found, when somebody passes, and many people will find this too, that who you expect to help sometimes doesn't, and the people who you don't expect do. I mean, some people stepped up to the plate that I was never expecting. I mean, when I was here and I was going through it too, and remember, I didn't have rose-colored glasses on. There were days that I was pretty messed up, and it's where I live on my street, and I'm a dog person. It was my dog people. My people that I walked the dogs with that made sure that I had food. Because once again, a caretaker forgets to take care of himself. They made sure that I was eating properly. They would make sure that someone else was walking my dog. They made sure there was food in my refrigerator. Yeah. So who would have thought that the people that I walk my dogs with and friends like that are the ones that were looking out for me.
Isn't that wonderful? And also important that you recognize, or people who are doing that recognize that you remember that. It's been almost a year. Soon it'll be a year since her passing,
right? And
you still remember that, and so those things don't go unnoticed. They really are appreciated, and so a great point to make. One of the things I want to talk about is, and I know some people do this, and I know some people don't want to do it. Is you actually planned her services.
Sure, with her.
Tell us what that was like.
Well, she always said that we're from an Italian-Irish Catholic family, typical, and where they carry the casket down the church and the Ave Maria would be singing and everybody dressed in black. And my mom and I, we discussed it. She always said that she wanted to be cremated, and and I told her that I would do her wishes, and she wanted to just be buried, the ashes to be buried with her parents and her other sister, and that's exactly what I did. And before she went too, I also told her that I would. We took her to England. I took her to England, okay, me and a friend of mine, and she loved it so much. So I was just over there. I brought a little box put white roses on it because that's her favorite, and then we planted a white rose bush in England in my friend Simon's yard for her. So we even talked about that. We discussed what to do with her jewelry, so it was. My mom my mom respected that I could talk to her about it, where some of my other siblings couldn't do it, or they would just walk away because they couldn't deal with it. I had to deal with it, Bob.
And a lot of that is what we're doing here, on Afterlife TV, the work that you do. That's sort of the point, is get people comfortable with this idea of death and the afterlife, so that they're able to do these sorts of things, while we're all still living. And I just think it was a really important ritual, if nothing else, to go through that and make sure that her wishes were acknowledged, and so that she was able to plan the service that she wanted.
Absolutely.
I think it's a wonderful thing that you did there, and it's something that certainly Melissa and I have talked about, so that we can do the same thing, or even
people
ahead of time.
Don't talk about it, but you're right. I'm glad you're talking about it, because people don't. It is going to happen. Yeah. You are a soul. You're going to go back home, and you always will be. But people should talk about it before it's too late. A friend of mine, his parents are going through this now, and I try to tell him, are you prepared? So, yes, you're never prepared, but you could have some things in line. So when it does happen, you're not scrambling. You know what I mean? So
or worried.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm supposed to cremate her or not cremate her. I don't know what she wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a horrible situation to be in.
Absolutely. So, people don't want to talk about, losing someone, or even about your losing, about you even going. What happens when you lose a parent? You start questioning your own immortality, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I saw that. But luckily, we discussed everything about her passing. And she did say this, though. I got to give it to her. Every time I feel sad, this is a woman that came out of ICU twice. We're watching all the levels go down, and bless her, she pulled herself out to pass where she wanted, when she wanted. So it was incredible.
That is incredible. Was she ever fearful of death? I've sat with her, beside her during your events. She attended many of your events. She was fully aware of everything that was going on with you. And yet it's still possible that she had some fear about dying. Did she?
Well, before she did, Bob, I think she was more fearful, worried about what's going to happen to her kids. I mean, she every mother, okay? Yeah. But what happened was on June 28th, she lost consciousness, and they had to put this machine on her, a BPAP, to help get the bad carbon dioxide out of her system. And a week or two later, she said to me, Johnny, remember when I almost passed away, or I almost died? I said, yeah, Mom, because the doctor said she may not wake up. She did, obviously. But she said during that time, Bob, I don't know why she didn't tell me right away, but remember, she was sick. She said to me that while she was there, she saw a light. Okay? She said that she saw a light, and me being a medium, I'm like, was somebody there? Was it a man or a woman? What were they wearing? What did they say? She said all she felt was a loving presence in the light. And she says ever since that, she was okay. Plus me talking about it and being prepared, and we were ready. We didn't know when it was going to happen. I mean, here's a woman that was doing Tai Chi in a chair. You know what I mean? And when someone has COPD, which many of the people listening know people, you never know what's going to happen with COPD. So we were prepared, but she wasn't afraid because we talked about it. And every time she went in the hospital, we thought, this is it. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it 5 times,
Yeah. Well, that's tough. That's tough to do. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about, people are aware of deathbed visions. You kind of referred to it. Some people, when they're getting ready to pass, they'll see visions of loved ones in spirit welcoming them, that sort of a thing. And then there's also this is actually kind of new to me within the last year, this idea of shared death experiences, I think they call them, shared death experiences, where other people who are in the room, people who are just there to support the one who is ready to pass, will have some kind of otherworldly experience themselves. Either they'll feel or see in their mind's eye the loved ones in spirit welcoming them, or not them personally, the one who's dying, or they'll actually, I've heard of people actually following them along almost to like the doorway of the spirit world.
Imagine.
You had an experience like that, did you not?
Right. Well, it's very strange. Not really. Synchronistic events, everything happens. It's amazing how it all happened. Just really briefly, okay? She was in the hospital. She came out, pulled herself out. I mean, this is the most we thought she was going. Okay, she pulled herself out of the hospital, went home. When I left, it was a Thursday. I was with her eating fried chicken. She was sitting up laughing and having fried chicken. Her oxygen levels were back. Her blood pressure was back. And I said to her, Mom, I'm supposed to go to Canada, which is only like 90 minutes by flight from here. And the doctor came in. She was amazed. And my mom's talking about, when can I go to the beach? You know what I mean? When can I get out again? I'm like, Ma, please, Ma, you just got here. Okay. So I said, Ma, should I go? And she said, go. And I'm like, I don't know, Ma, if I should go. And she said, go. And the nurse came in, and I said, on that Thursday, I was flying out the next day. She just waved at me, and she said, just go. So I went, and then she started getting, Friday, Saturday, she was okay. Then she was going, I got the call to come back. She was going downhill, and we knew that this was it, because where she was, Bob, at the nursing home or the long-term care facility, they loved her so much. They weren't supposed to, she had a DNR, do not resuscitate.
Yep.
Twice they loved this woman so much that they kept sending her to the hospital, and I kept saying, do not resuscitate. And she wanted that, so she had to go do that. So I get the call and to come back. But what's amazing, this one trip. Now, David Kessler is a Hay House author. He worked with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Okay?
Yeah.
His book is Vision Trips in Crowded Rooms. It's about what the dead see before they pass away. So I'm having dinner with Brian Weiss, okay, our buddy. And then I said, there was an empty chair there. And I said, well, we made reservations, and I added one extra person because you never know if someone's going to join us. Well, who joins us but David Kessler?
Awesome.
He's the #1 bereavement counselor in the world. Okay, he's there when there are tragedies in the world, and they fly him there. He's head of 5 palliative care. So he sits down. I start telling him about my mother, and he gave me some great advice. And he said, John, when I walk into a room that someone's passing, nothing is wrong what's happening in that room. Okay, he walks in there like it's a natural process. Nothing is wrong. So that was a great tip.
Yeah.
And he showed a video, and he gave me some great advice. And then I got the call about my mom. So what are the chances that I am sitting with the #1 bereavement counselor hours before my mom passes? Okay, so my mom said she wasn't scared because my mom being mediumistic too, but my mom had a boyfriend that we never knew about that she almost married. So this came out like not too long ago, and he was the one that my mom was supposed to marry. And I'm like, Ma, what about Dad? I mean, she's separated from my dad and divorced.
Yeah.
But he came to her in his soldier's uniform, and she said, guess who was here today? And I'm thinking, I don't know, Mary, Dolly, one of our relatives. She said, no, Wayne came to see me. I said, really? And this was like 2 weeks before he passed away. I said, what did he say? She said he was sitting at the edge of my bed, and he just said, I'm just checking in on you. Now, a lot of people, Bob, with deathbed visions, okay? What about David's book, Visions Trips in Crowded Rooms? Doctors don't talk about it because they do what they do, but it's the nurses, the healthcare workers, the social workers, the hospital people. They're the ones that see people call out to someone. You may see someone, this has happened, you see them stretching and reaching, and you think that they're, having a fit. They're actually reaching up for their loved one. Sometimes people will look off in the corner of the room and just stare. Sometimes they will actually see someone. But the people, a lot of family members will say, oh, they're hallucinating. My mom wasn't on a hallucinogenic drugs, Bob, and a lot of people aren't. Yeah. So I really believe that those on the other side come to see you shortly before you go. I mean, they come to me too, but I'm a medium. They're supposed to come to me. Do you understand?
Right.
All right. But she had that. And as a matter of fact, where we were at Brigham, at this place I almost said the name. It's fine.
That's nice.
In Massachusetts. The staff, I started to get to know me, and they said, well, this place is haunted. And I said, yeah, really? Oh, me, okay. And she says, what happens is before somebody passes, sometimes they will hear children laughing. Oh. So I said to my mom jokingly, Ma, you hear the kids? Run, Ma, run. Okay, you hear children, run. They said that they hear kids. And it used to be an old, it's an old manor. So maybe these kids, before somebody passes. Now, some of the nurses talked about it, and some of the nurses says, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it.
Right,
or sometimes they will smell cigar smoke also. So my mom, people were coming to visit my mom before she passed. And are you ready for the story of what happened when she passed?
Yeah.
Okay. So I get the call. And my brother, and it was weird. It was raining out in Canada, and the flight was late. But something happened. I was with another medium, and at the airport, and I wasn't pacing back and forth, get me on a helicopter. I was quite calm, Bob. I don't know if it was shock. I don't know. It was just quite calm. And my brother's texting me, where are you now? Where are you now? Right up to the door of the place. So I get there. And my brother Joe, he was in tears. And he said, Johnny, tell her she can go because she's been waiting for you. Now, she was already out of it, okay? So he left the room, and I just said, Ma, I'm here. I wanted to let you know I'm here. And my other brother left the room. I wanted my time. And then they came back in the room.
Yep.
I still remember this, Bob. We're holding her, we're hugging her, we're stroking her hand and saying, Ma, it's okay to go. It's going to be okay. Because she was all about her kids. And I knew the only reason why she's staying here was for her kids. So I'm blessed that she waited, Bob. She waited, okay? And I said to her once, Ma, I don't think I'm going to be there when you pass away because I'm always traveling. She goes, you'll be there. And I'm like, I don't know. Sure enough, she's the psych. She was right.
That's right.
So, this is what happened. So we're looking at my mom on the bed. I've got my brother Joe to my right, my brother Danny to my left. And I'm just sitting there, and I wasn't looking for spirit people. I was just in the moment, okay? Mom and my brothers. And my 2 sisters already left. So just as I'm sitting there, Bob, now have you ever felt when someone stands behind you You just feel it without looking. And many people know that. You could be in line and someone steps close and invading your space.
Right.
As soon as I'm looking at my mom, I felt my grandmother come into the room. I didn't see her. I didn't see a puff of smoke or her walk in and wave to me. I just felt her presence.
Yeah.
And then I felt my grandfather, then her sister, and then another relative. And I looked at my brother Joe. I said, Joe, they're here for her. And I looked at him. He said, what are you talking about? I said, Joe, they're here to take her now. Tell her it's okay. So he started crying. He said, no. And I got emotional. I'm getting emotional now. It's okay, Bob.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Beautiful experience. And then I said to my brothers, put your hand on her chest, John, you know. So we followed her breathing, okay? In 90 minutes after I arrived there, I said, Joe, they're here to take her. And, you know, within that minute, her chest rose, and I said, they're here to take her now. And she left, Bob.
Oh, my God.
Beautiful experience. But, I mean, I get emotional still.
Yeah.
But, wow. It's, and I always will get emotional when I tell that story because I was blessed. And now, granted, I didn't know I've never been right there when somebody passed away. So they really do come and get you. And I think my brothers also felt the presence. I mean, I said to my brother Joe too, and I can joke about this too. I said, God, was that good timing? You know, and it was, I'm like, I said they're here, but literally I felt them and she just needed that release. And I felt them come in the room and get her, and she left beautifully, Bob.
Oh, man.
It was a sad experience, but a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it sounds it.
Yeah.
I'm emotional hearing it. This is the second time I've heard it, and I'm sure the people watching, it's hard to hold back the tears when you hear something like that. That's a beautiful experience, one that I'm sure a lot of people wish they had. But how nice to know that that's the way it happens. And
right.
And the interesting thing is you're a medium,
right?
But there are people who are not mediums who do have these experiences, right? It's just
yeah, absolutely. You're going to feel. And it's funny, too, when she passed away, I didn't look right at her body anymore. I looked up and said, Gomar, it's okay. You know what I mean? In case she was hovering and looking down.
Yeah.
And, but there are experiences. But I want people who are listening to this, too. If you're not there when somebody passed away, do not beat yourself up, okay? My mom waited for us, okay? It waited for me to get off that plane, 90 seconds afterwards. Actually, it was like 100 minutes. She passed away 90 to 100 minutes. But there's going to come times when you may not be there. Do not beat yourself up. There are some parents that are going to wait till all the kids go to Dunkin' Donuts and then decide to go. So don't. Yeah. The soul knows when it wants to. Don't beat yourself up. And a friend of mine, she was upset because her mother said she didn't want to pass alone, and the mother did pass alone. That was the mother's sole choice, not to put the family through it. So don't beat yourself up. And there are experiences. I didn't have I had the experience of feeling them come into the room to get her, but there are, Raymond Moody's work too, shared death experiences, and where someone passes away and you go into you follow them up and you feel yourself floating. And I read one story where, she wasn't allowed to go anymore and she came back. So that's new, this whole shared life death experience. But it's beautiful, but they do. And there's all kinds of signs too. If your loved one has seen someone who has passed away, talk to them and say, well, what is Daddy saying? Yeah. What is this one saying? What is this? It may not be the drugs. They're actually coming to get them.
That's right.
It's always people that have passed away, too, Bob, that come to get them. They never see anyone who's alive. It's the people that have gone on before them.
No, exactly. And I do know that when people hear about these stories, they first of all, they wonder, why didn't I have that experience? But so many people have had the experience that you mentioned. They went to the cafeteria in the hospital, and they came back, and their loved one passed. And they don't understand why that happened. And there were so many reasons. There were just so many reasons. So, just a couple that you mentioned, and then, there's the idea of, for their own dignity. Some people just for their own dignity. There's all sorts of things that happen physically when a body passes.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they just didn't want you to be there when that happened, or their soul has reasons why that may be.
Yeah.
Or there might be somebody in the room or among the family, they just didn't feel as though they could handle that loss in that way to see him, or they didn't want that to be the last thing that person remembered, right? Lots of reasons. We can't really question that, right?
Right, and I did enough reading. I knew the signs of when someone's going to pass, what the body does, so I don't care how much reading you do. I wasn't really prepared when I walked into that room, but I was. I mean, I just took control. But yeah, I recommend that people just read a little of it.
Yeah.
Read a little.
That's it. How would you say that understanding the afterlife comforts people's grief? Again, both with the work that you do and having gone through your own experience, how do you think understanding the afterlife helped with your grief in all sorts of different ways?
Well, knowing that they are okay helps some people. I've done many readings where, especially for parents, knowing that their kid does go on and they'll give validation that they're still around their life, but knowing that there's an afterlife doesn't necessarily take away the bereavement, especially for me too, and I'm a medium. I know she's okay, and when I'm at my saddest, I still give her the credit for pulling herself out of that, her strength. And she wouldn't want us to be sad, but I know that I'll see her again, Bob. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've had 3 dreams of her already, okay? I've had dreams. My other sister's getting doves and lights blinking, and I'm like, I want the dove. I want the light. But she has come to me. And, of course, my mother's with the sister that really needs her. So
That's right.
I've had dreams about my mom, and in those dreams, it's weird. I know she's passed away, and she still says to me in the dreams, I'm just resting. I'm just resting, okay? She doesn't look sick. She says, I'm just resting. So knowing that there is an afterlife, I don't believe it, Bob. I know it. You know what I, so I know it, but it's, it does help, and, you do the work. And I haven't run to a medium yet myself, Bob, and people, first of all, I don't want to go to someone who knows me, because once they see John Holland walks in the room, I don't want to, so I may go when I feel, when someone goes, why don't you go? I'll go when I'm supposed to go.
That's
Bob.
right. Yeah, you'll know it. You'll know it. Yeah. And then just knowing, not as a medium, but as any one of us, any human being, knowing that we can communicate with them anytime we want. I mean, anytime you've done these events, you always get messages for people. You always get messages for people in the audience. And how would you describe the idea that our loved ones, are around us? So if we want to talk to them, they're going to get that message. Understanding, yes, they're not just focusing on us all the time. Understanding, like with you, with all the siblings, Jenny is able to focus on every one of their lives and know what's going on with them. But anytime that someone wants to communicate with them in prayer, just speak out loud to them, write a letter to them. She's aware of that. How does that happen? What do you have to say about any of that? Well,
people they're still probably wondering, John, you're a medium. Why don't you just dial your mother direct?
Right.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm too close to it. When I read for someone, I don't want to know anything about them. So when I feel my mom, I can feel her. It's not like she's going to poof right in front of me, okay, with her Italian sauce. I wish.
Me too.
But yeah, me too. Give me those balls. But I'll feel her, and it's really strange, Bob. Now when I do my group gatherings, like it opens up. It's weird. It's almost like I feel her in the background when I'm doing my work. Okay. Yeah. But if I was to link with my mom, I have to make sure it's not my imagination. But for the people who want to link with someone on the side, what I say to do, Bob, and I write this in my books too, in Spirit Whisperer, take out the happy pictures of your loved one, okay? The one where their eyes are bright, because too many people that have lost someone, whether an accident, they're remembering, just like you said, how they looked before they passed. They don't look like that anymore. Find the happiest pictures you have of them with their eyes, because the eyes are the window to the soul. Look for those happy eyes. Put the picture there. Light a candle, from a dollar store, and just be quiet. And just talk to them, because I always say your loved ones are just a thought away. Keep talking to them in your mind, because it's all telepathic. It's all mind thought. So just be in a nice place, and you may feel a warmth on your shoulder. You may feel a kiss. You may get a blinking light. You're lucky you get the dove, okay? You know what I mean?
That's right.
What happens too, Bob, those on the other side, they try to get our attention all the time, whether it's dreams, smells, electricity, finding the pennies. But us as humans, we always explain it away. Even me, upstairs in my kitchen, where my pencils are near my phone, pencil started moving. And I said, oh, it must have been my hand going across the air. That, come on, it's not a typhoon hand. It's and I just said, oh my God, I'm explaining it away like most people do. And I said, all I did was, I said, oh right, thanks, Ma.
Yeah.
Say that they're going to be signs, and they're trying to get your attention all the time. But I learned this from Suzanne Northrop. Okay, she said once, those on the other side take their cues from you. If they know that you're nervous or very sensitive still, very emotional, they're not going to come right away if it's going to get you upset. So you need to wait, or when you are ready for a visitation or that feeling or the dream, you need to say to your loved one, I'm ready. Come any way you want. Don't demand the dove. Don't demand the knock. And don't demand the radio going on. But they're going to come in their own way, in their own time.
No,
yeah.
That's great advice, because I do know people like their sister will have had a dream. They'll have the dream visitation where the parent will say, comes to visit them in the dream, and the other, they're upset. Why did it go to my sister and not me?
Right.
And that may be very well why, right there, just what you said.
Well, if say one sister is the stronger one, the mom will go to her, or the dad, and the other one emotional, they won't. And sometimes, if the parent or the loved one can't get to any family members, they're going to go to the neighbor, Bob.
Yeah.
Then people have had messages from their neighbors saying, I dreamt of your dad last night, or I dreamt of your mom or the guy at the store. Trust me, they know if they can't get to their family, they're like, oh, God, they're too nervous. I'm going to go to Joe next door. Okay, sure. He's okay. So they're gonna do it. That's
right. Yeah, and skepticism plays a role too. Let's just talk about the limitations of how understanding the afterlife really doesn't help with our grief. And you talked about some of them. Really, I mean, it's like the physical presence, right? I mean, we miss their physical presence.
Absolutely.
We can't hug them, right? Their companionship. Obviously, you spend a lot of time with your mom.
Absolutely.
Things you can't do anymore. Just that void that they leave in our life. Are there any other things that you've noticed since she's been gone, that reasons that you're grieving, the causes of it, that understanding the afterlife does not help?
I mean, it's great that I know that they go on, but like I said, I'll have a grief attack. And as we get older, too, I don't know about you, Bob, but as we get older, we're in the sandwich generation, okay? Anyone's in their 40s, 50s or something, we are taking care of our children, but watching our elderly ones grow, okay? I mean, grow older,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, and some people, once again, who are watching this are saying, oh my God, is everybody getting sick around me? It depends what age you're at, too, Bob.
Yeah,
yeah. But knowing that there's an afterlife, it does help, but there are times where I forget I'm a medium, Bob, and I'll hear a song on the radio, or I just spent some time with my aunt, my mom's sister. Mm-hmm. So being with my aunt, she looks so much like my mother, brought up memories of my mom, and my aunt started crying in the car because my mom was her best friend. So once she gets emotional, I started getting emotional too. So even though I know there's an afterlife, yeah, you still get, sometimes it does help me as a medium, especially of all the evidence I've given over the years, but I'm still a man, Bob. You know what I mean? I'm just a guy, and I'm going to, continue to miss her. So
yeah. Even though we know that we'll see them again, we know that we're not going to see them again in this lifetime, and just that thought alone, just brings the tears to your eyes.
You just want to hear their voice, Bob, too, one more time. But luckily, because of iPhones,
yes.
I did a lot of recordings of my mother, okay? So I have her in the hospital. I have her when she was over here. I have her voice. So, I've got that. And some people don't have that. Some people may have someone, they had their voice on an answer machine. They accidentally deleted it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the voice that I want to hear. And, me and my mom, I miss the joking, but I still talk to her in my mind, say, Ma, you there? Or, Ma, look at this. And yes, last night, it was the Patriots game.
Yeah.
My mom was a huge, my brother Joe got her into a huge, and I tweeted, do you think they're watching from heaven, or do you think they're watching from the other side? So when my mom was, when that game was on, I bet you my mom, that's going to bring up memories for my brother Joe. They always watched the game together.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did they do to honor that? He went over to his friend Michael's house, and he lost his mom near a Super Bowl. So they brought pictures of our moms and put them there, so it's almost like the mothers are watching the TV, watching the game with them.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. That's so nice. Let's talk a little bit before we wrap up about cemeteries, about grave and burial sites. I guess the message that I want to give people is that, it's a great monument to honor our loved ones,
Absolutely.
But they don't live there. Can you just expand upon that?
Well, being Irish, Italian Catholic, when my mom's family heard that she wouldn't even have a gravestone, she was okay with that. She was like, don't waste the money. I know I'm not there. But my Catholic relatives had an issue with it. They said, well, where are we supposed to go to see her? Well, it ain't not that. It's not there. But if I'm not putting that down. If you feel, I mean, if you have that monument or your picture at the grave or that stone of your family member, that's fine. That could be your place for your special talk with them. Some people feel they need to go to a place. I don't. Okay, but I'm not putting graveyards down. It depends on the need, Bob. You know what I mean? It's I stuck to what my mother wished.
Yes.
Okay, she did, and her ashes have been in different places. She's in England. She's buried here. There's a few other places too. She's going to be scattered all over all over the world, probably. You know what I mean? Especially Foxwoods and the casino where she used to go to.
That's
She
right.
loved that, and I think she'd be laughing on the other side. But I honor people that have a place to go, and if you feel like that's what you want, and maybe your loved one want that, it's good to talk about it. Most people don't, and then it's too late. You know what I mean? So have no regrets. Just talk to them, and hopefully the loved one will be ready for that conversation.
That's right. And again, I'll just sort of reiterate. If the cemetery, the gravestone, the gravesite is a
urn,
it's a great place to go because it has us take our time out of our lives to go there and focus on that person, and it's wonderful and it's spiritual. But whether you want to go to church or you want to go to a tree, or a park that you spent time together in, whatever it may be, that's good too, because that's not where they live. They'll follow you around wherever you want to go. And so if you want to take the time and think about them wherever, they're going to be happy with that.
Right, and I've never had anybody come through. I've had people say, if a medium was to come through and my mom comes through and said, your mom said you did everything she wanted to, that's great.
Yeah.
But there's going to come times where you're going to think, the person was supposed to have a burial, but you decided a cremation. I've never, ever, in the 20 years, the 2 decades of doing this work, have I had anyone come through on the other side upset that you cremated them instead of buried them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay? I had people say, thank you for taking care of me. You followed my wishes. But they're not upset if you decide, that's the overcoat. They don't take that with them. That's not who they are. This is just a temporary housing for the real you, which is the soul.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, just to wrap up, let's talk about some resources, books, recommendations of websites, anything that you might have used to help with your own grieving, or that you recommended to your family members, or that you've recommended to your clients or audience members over the years. Anything that stands out to you? You mentioned David Kessler's books.
Yeah, through Hay House, Vision, Trips, and Crowded Room. It's beautiful. It's the stories of what people see before they pass away, and it's from doctors, nurses, healthcare. So that's helpful, and that'll prepare you for when your relative starts seeing people on the other side. Wherever your mom is sick, every book is different, Bob. There's so many. Know the stages of bereavement, too. Okay, the 5 stages. On my website, johnholland.com, under the links page, there's a whole bereavement section there that people can go to. But even at hospitals or hospices or long-term care places, there's always little booklets. Now, I've got books that were this big on bereavement, because I write about it, too.
Yeah.
But David's book and any pamphlets that the hospital gives you, I recommend. It doesn't have to be the small booklets that help you to be prepared, because by being prepared, you're helping your loved one also.
Yeah.
And
then you triggered, because of David, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, of course. Just she's not with us anymore, but boy, one of the first books I ever read when I was investigating this field after my father passed, and they were just really enormously helpful, and I know they have been for other people.
Oh, David's website too, Bob. It's the biggest too, grief.com.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Grief.com. He owns that, and it's a wonderful resource.
We can remember that one, grief.com. You're at johnholland.com. What can people find on your website? Upcoming events, of course, right?
I got upcoming events. I do small groups. I'm all over the United States, and I'm teaching, and I'm honored to do this work, Bob, and I'm still fascinated, too. And I'll say to people, when someone gets a good reading, I'm a good mailman. I can deliver a good message, but I got to put the faith and I got to give kudos to the people on the other side. They're the ones that are coming through. So it's good to watch. It's good to watch a medium. But I don't want someone who's watching, Bob. If you lose someone, do not run to a medium right away. I've had people come to me when I was doing privates that they just lost somebody 2 weeks ago. And I said, no, they're still, if you think about it, they're still going through the shock, the denial, the 5 stages.
Yeah.
So wait a while, because those on the other side, I really believe this, Bob, too. When somebody passes, they're getting used to the other side still. They're getting used to being back home. You know what I mean? Checking things out, saying hello. I say wait 3 months, okay? So you're in a better place. I had one woman come to see me, and she just wasn't there. It was too soon, you know? So I had to say, look, you're not ready. So my site offers a lot. Your site offers a lot, too. So just do the research, and it's okay to talk about it, guys, okay? And you may have a sibling that doesn't want to talk about it like I did. I didn't have that option, Bob. So try to get the support. Remember, even caretakers need some love too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And just finally, then, Hay House Radio. You have a show on Hay House Radio.
Hay House Radio every Monday at 3 p.m. on the East Coast, 12 p.m. On the West Coast. And a lot of people say, well, what station is it on? It's internet radio. It's totally free. And next month, I've been doing the show for 7 years, so plenty of guests and bereavement counselors, and Brian Weiss is going to be on next month too to celebrate our event in Boston. So thank you, Bob, and good luck with this site. I see the numbers going up on your Facebook, so I know people are watching. So thank you.
We're doing great.
You're the first person in the media that I've talked to about the law, so thank you.
Well, that's what I wanted. I'll just end with that. Thank you for sharing and opening yourself up in such a generous way, intimate way. We haven't had a guest yet who has had the opportunity to do it, and I just think, wow, just what a powerful story you have. I hope that it's going to come out in a book in more detail in the future.
It will.
And I know that I appreciate it, and I know everybody else does. So thanks, John.
You're welcome, Bob.
Take care.
I love you, man.
Love you, man.
All right.